name is Kasia Mrowca. Today we'll be speaking about the feature gluttony. And you may ask, okay, what the hell is that? So I hope that during my talk we will see basically what we can consider as something that is like a bit maybe too much in terms of our application, and how we can adjust our requirements and the needs of our users to basically the stuff that we are developing in order to produce really great software. So who I am? I'm kind of agile person in terms that I'm like active in agile community. Back home, I was organizing conference called Agile Lean Europe, which was in Krakow, and as well I was a co-organizer of the meetup. Now I'm located in London, so I enjoy lovely weather. As you can probably see. How many of you are actually from London? Just raise hand. Okay. And rest, are you just arrived for a conference? If you arrived just for a conference, just raise your hand. Okay, a lot of tourists then, that's good. I hope that you see a lot of nice attractions around here. There's plenty of things to see. I'm here a year and a half and I'm still like in the tourist mode, and it's really brilliant. Okay, one really important thing. I have like Twitter. So another question for you guys. I know I told you that it's not exam and now I'm asking questions, so I know it's tough. But do you use Twitter? Raise your hand. Okay, so feel free to tweet. If there is something nice, something interesting, tweet. Using my Twitter handle, using the hashtag from the conference, everyone will enjoy it. Also, there is like the contacts for me, so if you have any other questions and maybe there is no time to talk, however, I'm like on the conference, so feel free to grab me and chat. You can write an email, you can reach me via Twitter, or you can check out my website. Okay, but let's start from trying to figure it out what the gluttony actually is. It's like kind of carving that people want more, more, and more. And it's usually connected with like few things. It could be like, the thing that we are carving for, it's so tasty, so our application is so good. And each time we deliver new features, our users are so excited. And they thought, oh no, it's so brilliant that actually I would like more. Maybe it's a kind of problem like disease or basically inefficient process in a company. So our users want more features because they can't deal with the basic things that they need to deliver in their work. So they're thinking, okay, if I can automate part of my work, maybe I will be able to do it. The problem with this thinking sometimes is that they are not taking it from the high-level perspective. They try to automate only small thing, and automation in their perspective is, oh, let's integrate it with Excel. We do our stuff in Excel and let's integrate and it will be brilliant. So you can see that basically the carving, the basically wanting more and more features can be connected with really various things. So it's everything depending on the perspective. And you can say that, okay, that was cartoon, you are using cartoons, it's not happening in your life, but remember, everything has inspiration. And also the context is the king. I'm a consultant. So usually we are like saying stuff like, oh yeah, it depends, but it really depends. So I try to provide you a perspective depending on the size of a company and the software that you are doing. I have experience in working in internal IT department for a company that wasn't connected with software, a software house, as well as consulting company. So I have all possible maybe not all possible, but a lot of possible perspectives that I can basically show you that certain principles can be applied across and certain are not matching. Especially if we are working in a software house, we can think, okay, if our customers are willing to pay us for giving them more features, why we shouldn't deliver, right? And maybe it could be okay, well, if they are paying and they want more and more, maybe it's fine because our software starts to be it's big, but somehow it's still doing the job, right? we are slightly each time afraid if we are pushing it to the production that maybe it's just won't work, but it's still doing what it should do. But sometimes it's okay, we are adding more and more features. And basically, it's starting to be more and more risky, especially if we have legacy systems. And suddenly, Yes, so what can happen, especially if we have software that is older than 5 years? We don't have usually the automatic tests connected with the features that we deployed like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, because back then people haven't do it. Even right now, I know companies that doing like brand new software and they're not using automated tests, so adding new features can be risky as well. So again, story from my previous life. I work in a company that we had a software that was when we start building it, it was like before internet protocol actually was working. So it was really huge and heavy, and obviously people want more and more. So what we start doing is trying to think, okay, what we can remove, because it was the only way just to make certain that it still can work, and it was still risky. So basically, in terms of like requirements and trying to figuring out, okay, what is like the core things that we need to have. It's always easy to say, so I try to later on show you what, like, it's my favorite technique to figure out, okay, what we really need to have. Because users, they will always say, you know, it's the last feature. I don't want more. It's really last. And then week after or a few days after, we'll, oh, you know, there's another thing I really, really need, and you are so brilliant, and your software is so great that we really want to it. So, and also we can think, okay, and how it's like affecting our product itself. So first of all, do we have any UX designers in the room? One hand. Okay, so your life is really tough if we have multiple features visible, right? Because we need to put it somewhere in the screen. And you know, remember that sometimes making things simple, it's actually really difficult because the complexity is hidden like in the engine, for instance, and stuff like that. So presenting things in a simple manner, it's difficult. And if you are adding more and more features, it's sometimes like getting impossible to keep it in a simple way. And our users themselves, they just don't know what things to follow and what they should focus on, because there is so much stuff on the UI. And sometimes you can't split it because the dependencies between the features. Also, unfortunately, our complexity is like growing as well. Like one key thing to remember, users, or basically business people who are paying for our application, they always will find something that we would like to deliver. But there is a point where our application will work smoothly and they can find features. And there is the point where basically are saying, oh, okay, I can't find the stuff that I'm really interested in, because our application, like from being a software to, let's say, order a coffee, doing also the ironing, and I bought the software just to have a coffee. And then it's like, okay, where is my feature? Actually, in the consumer goods market, maybe it's slightly easier. But if you can think about ERP kind of solutions that are supporting the business processes in huge organizations, sometimes you see it and you basically don't know what to do. One of my favorite examples, unfortunately I can't say the name of the software, was the financial system, and there was like the place then you can like expense stuff. And the only way to expense things like, I don't know, glasses or other things that you are allowed to expense was making a business travel. So there are stuff like that that basically are not necessarily working nicely if you have like everything in one place. Okay, so what about the backlog? So if we have a lot of requests, we need to put them somewhere. And if you say to our users, oh yeah, we will do it, they want to have some kind of like, you know, they want to feel safe that we wrote it down. So usually it's connected with having like really long list of the requirements. And then when we have the long list of the requirements, we easily figured out that we won't be able to do it quickly. And because of that, we start to have roadmap. And roadmap is like really lovely thing, but we are not living alone in universe. Our application is connected with thousands of other things. It needs to talk with another applications, and usually we have dependencies. So what we end to have is like commitments that start to be like scary. Before I move forward, how many of you heard about the word agile? Okay, keep your hands. How many of you are working in agile manner? Okay, how many of you have a backlog for like month ahead? half a year? Year? Okay, it's not too bad. Okay, because some people believe that they are like working in agile manner, but they have like backlog with, let's say, 10,000 user stories planned 5 years ahead. So beautiful flexibility, right? We can do a lot of stuff. So why is actually dangerous? If we have commitment, it means that someone rely on us that we deliver, and we don't have flexibility. And again, having like maybe small example with like consumer market. So let's imagine that we are a bank and we order application to log in via mobile phone. And we have like a lot of features that we want to squeeze in. But then there is like Apple with its innovations and say, oh yeah, now we have login via fingerprint. And it's really nice and convenient. So let's imagine that this feature was like suggested in 2015, and we have like a lot of things like in the queue. The earliest we can like deploy it is like maybe 2018 or something, and maybe our competitors, because they are more flexible, they can do it easier. And it's like usability in terms of the user friendliness says, oh yeah, it's a really good feature. So maybe our competitors, if they have the feature earlier, they will take our customers. Actually, I'm one of the customers who switched the bank because of the possibility to log into the app via fingerprint. So stuff like that really happening. So it's not only like theoretical thinking. Okay, so beside the roadmap, we need to have a backlog. And maybe, it's like one is connected with the other. But the problem is with the size, because suddenly you discover that you have plenty of things and you have no clue what is inside. Even if you have an army of people like me who are actually just sitting all day and reviewing those user stories or other ways of naming the backlog items, you basically have like hard time figuring out, okay, what's actually in here. Another thing is, I probably shouldn't say it loud on the conferences, usually you don't need an army of BAs and product owners. If you reduce the scope a bit and you put these things high level, basically reduce amount of work that you need to have. And also, this is the cost, and this is the waste, because probably within a few years, no one will remember it and no one will actually care. Again, why business wants it? Because they want to feel secure and that we don't forget about their requests because they feel it's really important to have it. We will tackle it later, how to solve it. Again, priorities, if you have this, you can think that you have it ordered in the priorities, but because of the size, usually you are not able to see everything. My another favorite thing is like documentation. So obviously, if we have like huge product, we can rely on user stories, but usually we are asked to write some documentation as well. And because it's complex, well, people not reading it and not putting there a lot of heart to it. So it starts to be like useless as well. I just don't want to criticize because some people are thinking that documentation itself is really crucial. My approach is just to keep it as visual as possible because it will change. Like minute you finish writing it, it's outdated usually. But if you write the documentation for the complex software, then it's starting to be like tricky as well. Okay, so like quick recap before we move forward. If we have like huge backlog and we just blindly following it, we have the troubles with designing it, we have troubles with making like better usage of our time in terms of managing complexity, and we obviously at some point basically lose the key things and the key business processes that our application is made for. We have also like kind of management-related troubles because we have the roadmap commitments and other people push us to have the stuff delivered because they are dependent on us. We have a backlog that we actually don't know what's inside. So what we can basically do is like try to clean up. So how many of you use estimates? Kind of a lot. So some people just suggest, okay, if we want to push back, maybe we can like put like story points or another kind of estimation method that scare our customers. By the way, out of curiosity, how many of you use story points? Majority as well. T-shirt sizes? Few hands, okay. Okay, that's good, that's good. And there is maybe someone who is like not using estimates at all, like no estimate approach. One person, wow, that's nice. Usually it's 0. Okay, so basically we are using the estimates. And we thought, okay, if we go the big estimates, they will be like scared. Well, surprise. Our customers or our business users or our users or whoever is like asking us for estimates, it's usually not scared. Why? So first of all, they're asking us for the story points because they want to have some level of certainty that the stuff will be delivered, and they actually don't have a clue about the stuff that we are using. If there are like story points or t-shirt sizes or whatever it is, from like our end user perspective, he says, oh no, I want to have this Excel integrated, and I'm actually not really interested if it's a good solution or not, because from my perspective, I will be able to do my job. So again, sometimes, our users are not so stupid. I mean, like if we use it once, the big estimate, the second time we try to use this trick, they will just say, but previously you delivered, even though you said that it's so big and so difficult, you just did it, right? So this time will be the same. And again, it's like starting to be like tricky, and basically instead of having conversation, why we don't want to implement actual feature, we are like focusing on magic numbers in Excel of project managers, because guess what? They can map it, and they can try to guess, okay, what our story point means from like project management perspective, so in terms of time and budget, even though our intention is actually to show different things behind it. For me, personally, the most important thing, we are like killing the conversation connected with benefits. The whole point about having agile conversation is like talking about the value for the customer. And sometimes because of the way of our company is working with agile and how we are trying to tackle this issue, is like, okay, we are just forgetting the conversation about values part, and we are starting to focusing about dates, deliveries, deliverables, the roadmaps, timelines, because business is as well stressed because, guys, they have their own KPIs, and like we need to use a bit empathy, and they want to deliver something, right? And if their delivery is depending on the feature that we potentially need to do, they start to be a bit pushy, right? Because they want to do their stuff. So there's like two ways of the equation that sometimes on the IT side is not fully visible, and we not fully understand why the hell someone wants this Excel integrated if we can do something better. It means maybe we can replace the process, maybe we can tweak it slightly, and instead of having this integration, we have maybe different feature that allow to do the job. Maybe we need to wait more for having it, but it's maybe better. Or maybe if we actually reduce the features and make it in totally different manner, maybe this actually is more beneficial for you. So how to clean like in the right manner? So how to start the conversation? So first of all, roadmap in terms of the vision is important. Maybe the first impression was that I said, oh no, roadmap is bad. The thing is, if we put the line with dates, that's bad because it's saying, okay, we don't have flexibility. I know that in some cases, you have to have dates. But in majority of cases, you can try to use more flexible approach to capturing the ideas for the features in the way that our users and our business partners feel safe. We have things captured in the high-level manner, so we are not wasting time on like detailing the solutions from the technology perspective, and basically everyone are happy. One of the things I'm suggesting is using innovation games, and this is the product tree. I tweak it a bit, and also there's like, in innovation games, like great book, so you can take the inspiration how to make stuff more visual and more fun in work, and also more meaningful. So what we can basically do here, if we have like plenty of ideas, we are taking people into one room, and starting discussing. Just to save time, I propose that one person just take the initial ideas and put the leaves and branches together, send it out, and only during the meeting we are revising and adding new. So why it's like nice? So first of all, branches can be like modules or categories, so it's easier for our users to understand that this is, so if we want to do something not dependent to each other, the branches can't merge. because in their imagination, tree is something that exists and they know that basically it won't suddenly merge with another branch. If we try to use the conversation around dependencies without this example, sometimes it's tricky. And from our perspective, the more independent features and modules we have, the better it is, because it means that we don't have like nasty tests in between and a lot of stuff. So it's again reducing complexity, and we can divide our app in the future if it starts growing, like in the middle, because there is no dependencies, right? So those leaves features are, again, some kind of requests and ideas. And stuff that is inside is our current time box. Everything else, it's basically future. So again, going to the example with the logging. So if in our time box there is no logging feature at all, but we say, oh, we have the brilliant idea, and we can add it to the tree thing, and then say, oh, actually, let's detail it and do it. It's much easier because it's like visible. Those are like one-liners ideas, which are not maybe clearly defined, but at this stage, there is no need to have it defined because there's so many of them. And there's like easy to switch them as well. So this is how it looks in real life. This is the small one. I have the bigger ones as well. And it's really working nicely because if we are like in the meeting and we are starting the conversation, everyone are involved, so we can see it from the technology perspective and from the business perspective, why certain ideas should be in the time box that we are working in. Few words around time box, depending on how you are working. If it's Scrum and you have iterations, it could be 2 weeks. If you are using Kanban, again, this could be reused as well. It's like really flexible method of like keeping the stuff together. If you work with the remote teams, so you have like team in United States, in Europe, in India, in somewhere else, you can use mind map and it works the same way. Maybe it's slightly less flexible, but if you need to use the digital tools, there's plenty of really good software that do the mind maps, and basically you are spreading the stuff really similarly. And also you don't have dependencies because mind map is in a tree format as well. So once we have the ideas, those are not ready to be actually delivered yet. So next step is actually thinking, okay, among our ideas, what are actually things that we should deliver? So I have like another metric, which is, one is money, because we are all interested in money. So even if there's a non-profit company, they want to have some kind of revenue of the features that they are doing. Another thing is, I call it like love, but this is the thing that it matters for your users or for your company. If you're building optimization engine, you don't care about UI, but you care about the speed of the response of the query, right? But if you're doing like some map for the consumers, you really care about UI, right? Because if it's nice, people will love it. If it's clunky and ugly, people just won't use it. So usability is really important metrics around here. So we're choosing something that actually matters for your application, and this will be depending on the context. And then you are trying to assess each idea around, okay, how it will map on the terms like, okay, money and terms of the things that we are measuring, so how our users will love it. And then suddenly we have something like that. Have you heard about the term MVP? Minimal viable product? Raise your hands if yes. Oh, perfect. Come on, you're a so experienced audience. That's good. So this is the way I usually define MVP in the first place. Trying to say, okay, what's basically the stuff that we should tackle first? Again, we need to have a bit of the common sense, because somewhere here, maybe there are security requirements, and they seem like, okay, they are not connected with UI. There is no return in investment. But on the other hand, if we are like banking app and someone will steal our customers' information, not good, right? So we'll still need to validate the idea from the common sense level, because maybe there is some requirement over here that it's not so explicit that it should be done, but still we need to deliver it. Again, in real life can look like that. As you can see, natural everything is important. So that's why we have another metric in terms that if we have existing software, it has some business process that it's supporting. So still we should think how the thing that we are implementing will influence the things that we already have. Again, it's kind of simple. As you notice, there is no numbers. There's like sad face and basically cheerful face. This is the assumption that later on we'll need to validate, and then maybe we can use numbers. At this point, we are having like thousands of ideas and trying to reduce them to the scope that we can actually manage and deliver. So what we are, let's say that we have the booking engine for airline tickets. And we have like new brilliant idea, which will be, okay, let's have the color of the seats in our query available. So if someone is booking the flight, he can choose the color of the seat. Maybe it's like the, new really important thing for our users. And then we start thinking, okay, how it's actually influenced our performance? Maybe this is like separate database that we need to call, which is like from, I don't know, maybe it's located in China or somewhere like behind the wall, and basically response is really low. And because it's like booking engine, our customers' key measure is, okay, how quickly I can have a ticket. And if this means that we need to join the query and it takes ages to basically retrieve the ticket for our customer, maybe it's actually not so good idea. Then maybe it's like, game changer and no one else is doing it. And we see, because based on the market research, that, this is interesting. Everyone now wants to have like, maybe pink seat selected on the airplane. So usually we choose 3 things that are like key things that we want to measure against. So maybe one is like the performance I mentioned before. Another could be like how brilliant it is in terms of the market and the position on the market. So is it like game changer or not? And another could be, for instance, the usability for the users. So we are picking the 3 most important things over here just to assess how it influenced the existing application and its life. Because maybe it's actually breaking our application, there is no sense of delivering it. And again, it's like really high-level estimates, because at this point we are guessing. We don't have data to actually measure it and to check it, because in order to have data, we would need to like do the spikes, and this is like trying to say, okay, we are doing this, not this. So again, then we have at least some assumptions, and we at least mentally checked if the new feature is like good for us or not. Again, maybe some example from one of the applications I worked in. So we had like brilliant idea, and no one actually validated how the idea will influence the software. So we implemented it, and then we suddenly discovered that our performance just dropped. And it was like not acceptable from the business perspective. And basically, it wasn't even like important feature. So you need to like remember about stuff like that. Again, example maybe more familiar. Few years back, Microsoft had like the communicator called Microsoft Link. And at some point, they integrated it with the Outlook in the manner that you can see your Outlook calendar from the link. And I have to say it was awful user experience. Why? Because once I want to schedule my meeting, I need to wait a few seconds because it was synchronizing with Link. So the feature that was like nice to have from the Link perspective actually broke another application, so basically Outlook, because then scheduling meetings start to be like really clunky and not nice. So we need to like think about the environment that it's around us, and if our brilliant feature that maybe is actually only nice to have doesn't break anything around, and we need to highlight our business partners that this actually maybe it's not so good idea taking into consideration other things that exist. And believe me, frequently we are not even assessing it mentally. We're just having the backlog and we are just doing stuff. So yes. And again, sometimes we need to use estimates. I see that in the room with majority of us, and we have not a lot of choice. Some people say that, oh no, there's like the modern IT development, and we should get rid of estimates because it's guessing, right? Because basically it's like the ball, and we are saying, oh yeah, crystal ball, please tell me when we deliver. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. I know a few people who claim that can estimate really accurately. Haven't seen it with my own eyes. But we are asked to have the estimates. What we can do to make them more understandable for our business partners and basically for everyone, because sometimes even in our industry we don't understand the estimates. So we can ask, okay, we are delivering you our story points, so dear business, give me business value. This is really simple, saying, okay, how important the feature is for you and how kind of like revenue you're expecting to have it. And also we can explicitly name the risk. Story points, t-shirt sizes, or another kind of estimates that we're using usually includes the risk, but it's hidden. So guess what? People don't know that it's there and don't understand that the big thing is basically big number is actually, connected with the risk. Some might actually, be like, oh yeah, maybe there is something there, but usually it's just the number in the Excel and you don't see what's behind. Okay, so if we have like standard user story, so the backlog item with the thing that we need to do, and we estimated 21 for those who are not using this kind of estimation, so the Fibonacci numbers, it's like extremely high and you shouldn't see it. And in my role, I've seen a few backlogs that have even higher numbers. So there are the stories like that. You should see usually like 1, 2, the small numbers, not this. Anyways, if you just start trying to like assess, okay, why this story is so big, and you start discussing and figure it out, okay, let's have this logging to bank example and say, okay, we never ever did the fingerprint login before. It's a brilliant idea, but it's risky. And maybe if it would be like only from one device, it would be fine. But if you're saying that you want to have logging like device agnostic for every device that basically have fingerprint, we are like, oh my goodness, we never done it before, so it's risky. On the other hand, we have the marketing person who says, oh my God, fingerprint is like future. So everyone wants to log in via fingerprint and it's really brilliant and our competitors are not doing it. So if we do it now and quickly, it gives a lot of value. So then we start having conversation and actually we can break it down in a way that maybe we can figure out something smaller or in a different manner just to have like alternative. So maybe we can say, okay, maybe we can actually split it. It still will be big and still risky, but we can reduce it if we just use like one device. So let's check what is the majority of our customers are using and go ahead only with this device and check it out. And then we see, okay, the risk is significantly lower because of having like technology agnostic solution. We are focusing on one and having kind of spike and experiment. And on the other hand, because this is the majority of our customers, our marketing is happy because they meet their targets, right? On the other hand, we can have like maybe some alternative thing that say, oh, let's have like, I don't know, voice recognition, which is like maybe not really even a good idea, but someone tried to assess having alternative on that perspective and saying, okay, it's still big, it's still risky because we have no clue, and the business value is low because people are not so, still it's not trendy solution, right? So then we can like throw away this alternative and we know that we not actually need it. What else we can do? We can compare what kind of needs are met if we are going with the original solution with the alternative that we are proposing. And if we do it in a visual manner, it's easier to make decision and easier to understand what is actually behind. By the way, in the user story, it should be more simple and you shouldn't have like that many needs, but you can be like acceptance criteria or other things that we are breaking down. It could be like on the feature level. Example is basically saying, okay, whatever you have in terms of the feature level that we are discussing, just try to break it down and basically present alternative in a way that people can understand it. And then in the end, add recommendations, because again, this is nice and visual, but still few words of recapping, okay, why actually you are recommending, for instance, this solution. It's important, just to give like more understanding. And why we actually should do it? Well, how many of you work in corporate world? Yes, so in corporate world, we communicate via emails. Again, we can say that it's wrong and we should like meet and talk with human beings, but sometimes this is our reality and we have emails. If we have emails, it's good to basically show what you want to do, so like nice visual stuff and adding few lines of recommendations, because then it goes just smoothly. Another thing that we usually not thinking about at all is, okay, we are adding more and more features and our application starts to be heavy. Maybe we can, delete something, reduce something. This is tricky because what we are saying, especially if we are like selling software, we are saying to our, marketing people, we want to delete, and they are just blank. Because in their minds, they are saying, oh my God, we sold those features, and now you want to delete them? How come, right? And what we are not seeing, that we can actually measure which features are used by our users, which aren't, and how basically our performance can be improved if we just get rid of the code base that is not used. How it can improve if it's for instance, even not connected with any automated tests and stuff like that. So what basically is happening, that from one perspective, we have bear terror because people are, oh my goodness, what the hell they are doing. On the other hand, we see some benefits that it's hard to communicate to another person. So what we basically can do, it's trying to add some level of certainty that we are actually knowing what we are proposing. So first of all, as I said, measuring and proposing showing the statistics connected if our users are actually clicking certain functionality or not. If we have this, we also need to remember about one tricky thing. Our users have cycle of work. So again, story from my life. We were doing software for mine accountant in one of my first jobs. And there was the report button, really huge one, that basically never ever no one clicked. At least it was our assumption. So we decided to measure, if someone is using the button or not. So first 3 months, no one is using it. Another 3 months, no one is using it. So we decided, let's hide it. It was half a year, no one ever touched it. Let's see what happens. We hide it. And then was the end of financial year. Guess what happened? We had a call. I had my favorite button to press, and all reports are happening, and I can't find it. Did you do some upgrades or something? So because we only hide it, we just unhide it, deploy it, everything was fine. If we delete it, it would be bad. So lesson learned. If you are measuring, also check when is potential period of time when your users are using the functionality. Because maybe they are not using it whole year, but there is festive period or end of the financial year or something like that they are basically needing this feature. It's maybe once a year, twice a year, but we still need to be aware when it is. But in this manner, so trying to track the things, we actually deleted few features, and suddenly also users start to see that, our reports are faster. We can faster generate stuff. Our UI starts to be better because we just started reducing the numbers of buttons, and guess what? They even sometimes didn't notice that some buttons weren't there anymore because they were never ever touching them. So those were small baby steps that we applied. It was possible because it was internal IT department. So now quickly discuss what can happen if we have the marketing, sales, product owners, maybe some research team, and us, poor development team. So again, it's about communication and showing the statistics and trying to say, especially to sales and marketing people, guys, you need to adjust the slides. Because the worst thing that can happen that we have slides, they were always perfect, and we have software, and they are misaligned. Because what basically can happen that if we have sales or marketing person doing the demo, and we hide something and didn't tell them, they are, want to show it. They show it on the slides. They are turning on the application, and it's not there. It's really bad from any kind of perspective for the company and for you guys as well, because you will be rebels that basically destroying stuff. So it's the communication all the across saying, let's try to hide it and see what our customers are, happy with it or not. If we then decide to remove it, or basically move it to another maybe module of the application finally or another part, we can also justify it to our marketing partners that, guys, if we put it separate, maybe you can sell it separately. And this could be a solution as well, depending on the size of the application. In terms of ERP applications, actually selling by modules, it's kind of good approach and it's even better for a company. So if we start splitting it, it's like good. But I start talking about, being like certain what will happen if we delete something, right? How we actually even measure that? This is like another thing that basically people are terrified. They're uncertain, and this causes fear. How we can minimize fear is like having tests that shows us, okay, if we delete something, we know that our application will run. Especially if we are like not only IT, which is like internal IT department, that basically we can quickly roll out new bug fixing or basically move to another version. If we have number of customers and they are depending on us and maybe their operations is not as smooth as ours, or maybe there's another constraints because maybe we can install software only via, some hard drive, putting on the machines, like pen drive or something, because there's of security reasons, so you can't push anything via network, right? Or there's a lot of constraints that basically says, okay, if you put new version of the software, it really needs to work. And if you start removing features, there's like natural kind of fear that, okay, but what will happen? For like in our brains, if you're adding stuff, it should work always, right? Even though sometimes it's breaking. If you think about removing, it's like, oh, but there are dependencies, there are stuff. So we need to try at least to assess it in a way that people feel safe, we are feeling safe, and actually we are not breaking the operations when we are removing stuff. Again, if it's like connected with like changes of the UI, sometimes we also need to think about, okay, we need to train users again, because suddenly, even if they didn't use the stuff, it's not in the UI and they are used to it. Power of habit is really the thing in terms of like delivering software and basically doing anything with software. So try to bring certainty and think about removing stuff as well. I think that we in our industry, we are not talking enough about actually getting rid of the things. We are like focused on new shiny applications and delivering new stuff, which is completely fine. But on the other hand, we have a lot of legacy software. And if you work in London in finance, you are knowing what I'm talking about. And sometimes it's really crucial for us to add new things, but then there is no enough, space. So if we know that something is not used by, 20 years now, maybe really we can remove it. Just this is like the thing for you to think about later on. Okay, quickly wrapping up. So, first of all, if we have the new feature request, think about if we don't have this feature already, or if basically it makes any sense to add it and increase the complexity and basically all the complication, the UI, and if our users will be actually happy with it. Maybe here another like story from one of the software houses I worked in. We had feature that did exactly the same thing, but with different steps. 3 times implemented in slightly different manner. It's the typical example of the waste, because you can think how to make it customizable when another customer knocks to your door and say, oh, I want this, but I need different steps. This is the thing to pause and think, okay, how we can deliver that in a way that we can be flexible and it will suit more than one customer needs, instead of multiplying the same functionality for different customers, because this is another thing, it's really hard to go. Also, if we have roadmap and commitments, we are losing the flexibility. There are other people that are dependent on us, and if we fail, basically, it's like chain reaction. And probably you've seen it sometimes in the in the daily work. If we have to backlog, we lose visibility. Even if we have army of people to deal with the backlog, it's really hard to basically manage it. And how we can bring visibility and transparency. Instead of having linear things with the timelines, let's try to gather ideas in the flexible manner. So we can use the innovation games and product tree. We can use mind map. the whole idea is having high-level ideas, not detailed in the numbers that also help us to manage it. How we can reduce the things that we have, use another lenses of approaches and trying to figure out, okay, out of the ideas for this time box, which is actually crucial and what we should park and what maybe we should actually get rid of because it's not really beneficial at all. And you also need to think, okay, what is maybe not so, beneficial from a money perspective and usability perspective, but it's, for instance, crucial non-functional requirement connected with security. Again, if you are doing the estimates, try to make it high level and with the really high level assumptions, because at this point of time, it's really hard to have any data. And if you are putting a lot of effort in estimations, well, we'll be wrong anyway. So it's good to have it high level. If we really need to use story points, let's try to figure it out if we could have alternative solutions where we can actually compare and expose explicitly what's the risk, what's the business value, and how we can start conversation to actually go to the solution together with our business partners, marketing partners that actually satisfies our needs and not duplicate the same thing that we already have. So the example of the giving the configuration and flexibility. Okay, that's it. I see that I have 3 minutes left, so it was really great to talk to you. Thank you for your attention. Do you have any questions? Oh my God, I asked too many questions and I scared you guys, right? Okay, if no, then thank you. There are my contact details, so even if you don't have questions now, feel free to reach me. And thank you again and have a good day.